Hello and welcome back to the channel, and today I'm going to be unboxing and installing the new return pump from Red Sea. It's the Gen 2 ReefRun 12,000, which is the largest of their return pumps, and also the dual controller that lets you connect it to the app. So this video is just going to be the install and the unboxing to show you around what you get in the box, talk you through some of the spec, all those sorts of things. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back in a few months' time on the main channel and do the proper review. The idea of that being that by that point I would have had a bit more time using it, so I'll be able to tell you something a little bit more useful. Before we get into that though, there is of course the usual disclosure. Red Sea gave me this for free and I get to keep it after I made the review. No money changed hands, Red Sea don't get any input into this video and they don't get to see it before you do. And of course I'm always free to say whatever I want, both good and bad. Alright, let's get to the box. We're going to start with the return pump itself and come on to the controller later. And Red Sea has the usual nice packaging, gloss and shiny packaging, always looks very nice, their boxes. When you open the box you get the warranty card. So this will take you to, it doesn't really say much on that side, but on this side it's got a QR code. And if you scan the QR code, it takes you to the instruction manual. I think it takes you to the warranty sign up, and it also shows you a few videos on the return pump as well that you can check out at your leisure. But the videos aren't setup videos, they just show you the specifications and the things that you get. In the box itself, we're going to start with the controller. So this comes with actually a standalone controller. And it has settings of 20, 40, 60, 80 and 100. So if you don't want to connect this to the internet, if you don't want to use it to an app with an app, you can just buy this. This pump alone, the big one, costs £270, and you can control it out of the box without connecting it to the internet. So that's what this is for, but I think you're probably going to want to connect it to the internet, but we'll come on to that later. So that's the control box that controls it without having to connect it to the internet. There's also a cable in here. So the cable in here is 3 meters long or 10 feet long, and this is standard issue Red Sea cable that you will have seen before. Actually, it looks a lot like the Seache cable. If you've ever had a Seache return pump, it comes with that style of cable. Anyway, standard issue cable. There are also a couple of fittings as well. Now these are fittings Red Sea say for metric and US as well. So there's a couple in here. I think in fact there's fittings in here for hard plumbing. Yeah, indeed. So there's hard plumbing and soft plumbing. I'm going to be using soft plumbing. Let me just check what sizes these are. Okay, so the larger one is 48.5 mil outside diameter, and the smaller one is 39.72, 40 mil outside diameter. So 40 and 48.5. I'll put up on the screen what that is in inches. And then you've got the soft plumbing one, and this has barbs which are for 25 mil and presumably 32 mil. What's that? 32 mil, yeah. So a 25 mil hose will fit on the top one, or if your hose is 32 mil, then it will fit on the bottom bit. There's also this little grabby, this little bracket that sits on there and screws onto the pump. So we'll show you that in a sec. All right, so now we come on to the actual pump itself. And actually, firstly, there is the power supply and the power plug. Again, nothing particularly exciting there. Who's it made by? It's Red Sea. It's got Red Sea badging, but you can see at the bottom here it says GVE, and GVE, I presume that's who make this. I think it is. It's not 100% clear, but I think that's GVE. GVE make power supplies. I've seen loads of these, and you got this with the NiCrew LED that I got recently. So it's not the premium Meanwell kind of power supplies, but I've got loads of them and they seem to be pretty decent. But it's probably a sub premium power supply if you want to look at it that way. And actually, before we get to the pump, I've just found a really clever little thing. They give you this mounting template, which is presumably, yeah, that's exactly what it's for, is for the controller. I love that, because then you can just stick this onto your cabinet or whatever, and then you drill the holes in there, and that is exactly where the screws go. So that will then just slide on there. Love that. Really like a mounting template. Not enough companies do that. More of that, please. All right, what about the pump itself then? This is a big boy. In fact, it's so big, I have to move the box out of the way. Okay, so here we are, and bear in mind this is the biggest. What sizes do they do? This is the 12,000 litre per hour return pump, and Red Sea also do a 4,000, 6,000 and 8,000. So you can think of them as small, medium, large and extra large, and this is the extra large one. It's a big old unit. This is noticeably bigger than my existing return pump, which is a 10,000 litre per hour refractory unit. On the actual return pump itself, then you get this flow guard. So that's kind of this inlet guard. That's kind of a snail guard for the most part, so it will stop snails getting in, although that's not, the grill isn't exactly massive, so isn't exactly small, so plenty of small snails will be able to get in there. But the point of this, let me break it off so I can show you. The point of this is that half of it, the top half, is solid. So that means that when you put it on, if normal return pumps just draw in water from all over the place, but you can set this so it points downwards and then it can sit in shallower water. So when your return pump section drops down, it will only draw in water from below that line. So it'll sit in slightly shallower water without gurgling. Don't know how useful that is, but it is a feature that it has. And the other thing to tell you about is how you access this for maintenance. So I'm going to put it on a little plinth and show you how you take it apart. Now, this is not the first time I've done this. I'm just going to pop the end cap off. This is not the first time I've done this, but it is the second time. So we'll see how easy it is. So you need to pop these off. They're quite stiff, but they do come off. And then I think you just twist and pull. Easy. So then the end comes off like that. So that's the typical end bracket that you have. Not the most premium feeling plastic in the world, but it's totally fine. And this feels really heavy, by the way. Some of these pumps come away from the base. This one doesn't. So this doesn't come away from the base like Jekyll ones do, for example. And then the other thing that you can take out is the impeller. How easy does that come out? Pretty easy, yeah. So this is very familiar. If you've ever taken one of these apart before, it's very familiar. It's just got the little dents there that the impeller housing sits in, and that's about it. And that should just slide straight back in. Whoop. There you go, yeah. And there's a little rubber gasket that keeps the water only coming in that part. So pretty easy to take apart. So when it comes time to clean it, which frankly, let's face it, none of us ever do, but if you do ever want to, it comes apart for cleaning pretty easily. Let's put this back on. And the final feature to tell you about with this is that you can twist the outlet round at an angle. That's quite a firm friction twist, so you're going to need to get both hands on it to twist it. Can you do it one-handed? You can actually, to be fair, and you're likely to have to do this one-handed when it's in your sump, when you reach into the bag. You can do that. Yeah, just about. It wobbles a little bit, but the idea is that you can twist this through 180 degrees, is it? Yeah, actually just over, so it'll go all the way down there and all the way down there, so just over 180 degrees. So that will help, well, that will help some people with angling this or pointing this towards your downpipe or your plumbing that you're going to connect this to. I'm going to be going for flexible hosing because I already have that in place. So I'll screw that on there, and then realistically this in my sump is going to sit directly underneath the hose that it's connected to. So I don't think I'm going to need that angle, but I guess it's a useful feature for some people. And actually I cheated. There's one other thing I didn't tell you about, and that is before I started making this video, I put these little rubber feet in. So there's rubber feet that it comes with, 4 little rubber feet. They are pretty small, to be fair, but they will help with vibrations. So they will just sit on the glass and stop the whole thing rattling. We'll see how quiet it is. Red Sea say it's quieter than the first one, which was a bit noisy and a bit buzzy, over 50%. So we'll see how quiet it is when we'll get it installed, but that should help. One last thing it comes with is a little hose clip. And I have to say, I do like these little clips. These are for your flexible hosing. So this will just grip onto your hose, and then you can push it tight so it grips it. And this is instead of using a cable tie, basically. So handy to have. All right, that is everything I need to tell you about the pump itself. Let's get to the controller quickly. Okay, so here is the dual controller. Now this is not an updated one. This is the same one as you've had before. And in this you get a user manual, and this actually is relatively useful to have because there are a few things that you might need to know about this. So it is worth reading through the instruction manual quickly, although I'm not going to do so. And then you get the dual controller itself. This control box, by the way, costs £165. So if you buy the return pump on its own, the 12,000 litre per hour return pump, it's £270. And if you buy this on top of that, it's 165, which makes a total £435, I think. So £435 for the full system, really. And that compares to, let's compare it to 3 pumps then. My existing one, or the refactory base pump, The 13,000 litre per hour one is £400, although it's currently available for £340. Let's do it at the RRP, £400. So the Red Sea is more expensive than that. And then the Ecotech Vectra L2 is £520, which is more expensive than the Red Sea. So it sits roughly where you would expect it, I think, in terms of the premium brands. But if you compare it to Jekod, there's a Jekod 13,000 litre per hour DCP, which is £190. Now that doesn't come with any fancy apps. This is just the basic one that comes with a control box, a fixed control box. But you can't really go wrong with Jekod. So if you're looking for a budget option, there are better options. But if you're looking for one of the premium brands, then this is probably roughly in the middle of where you would expect it. And actually, one of the good things about the dual control box is if you've got a skimmer already, and therefore you've got one of these, you've already got one of these dual control boxes, you don't need to buy it again. So you can connect to this, you can connect two return pumps either separate, so you could run dual return pumps off your, for your main tank, or you can connect one return pump and the pump from the skimmer. So this might work out cheaper if you've already got the Red Sea skimmer. And you can mix and match Gen 1 and Gen 2. So if you've got a Gen 1 skimmer or a Gen 1 return pump, you don't have to start again and buy two of the new ones. You can mix the Gen 2 return pump with a Gen 1 skimmer. All right, enough of that then. Let's go and get the pump installed. Okay, that's the cable. That's everything out of the way. Let's see if I can do this. Ouch, come fella. Now what I was hoping to avoid doing is taking this bad boy out, but I've just got to the point where I need the extra visibility. So I'm going to take the top of my filter roller off. Oh, now I've got that wet. Where's the pipe? Where is it? Ah, no, I need to dry that out. In she goes. Oh yes, I like that one. Burp. Oh! Oh! I was going to say perfect. Near enough. Okay, I've now finished the install and I've done all of the cable management. I've set up the box and I've turned the return pump on and connected it to the internet. A couple of things that are worth mentioning. Firstly, I didn't realise that that little box that just turns it on and off that comes with the return pump, you have to have that, as far as I can see, that has to be part of the connection. So let me show you where I've got that set up. So I have that just in here because the cable from the box to the return pump isn't actually very long, so I couldn't get it much further away than that. So it has to go in the same section of my sump as the return pump. That's totally fine, to be fair, it's not a problem. But I was under the impression that if you have the ReefRun controller, the dual controller, you wouldn't need that. Turns out, as far as I can make out, that's not correct, and it must be connected to that. Now I used a little mounting template to get it nicely level. First thing to say, I didn't get it level despite having that, which is a bit annoying. But the second thing to say is that I tried peeling. You can see that I tried peeling the front and back of this on all corners, and it doesn't appear to be adhesive. It appears to need a bit of sellotape, so I had to put a bit of sellotape on it to stick it in place, which kind of defeats the object. But anyway, I mounted that on and then just rip it off when you've put the screws in, and that means that it's nice and tidy. Strangely, it doesn't come with a mounting template for the dual controller, so you just have to line it up yourself, but that wasn't really much of a difficulty. And the only other thing to say on cables is that the length of cable from the control box, this part, to the part that you connect the power brick to is not quite as long as I'd like. So that means that, in fact, let me show you where the power brick is. So here's what I mean. The splitter box is just back there, and then the length of the cable that you get from the power supply to the splitter is it's only about a foot long. So that means I could have mounted this more neatly, to be fair, but it means you don't get quite such flexibility with where you can put a power brick. The cable that then goes into the dual control box itself is nice and long. Don't know how long it is, but it's plenty long. You can see there's a big loop there. So, and that loops all the way around to the back there, which is where the other end of that cable is. So this you've got plenty of slack with this part of the cable here, and that means you'll be able to mount this more or less wherever you want. And the other thing to bear in mind though is if you had a second return pump, if you had this connected to your skimmer, you want it somewhere installed where you can connect that, and you want it also installed somewhere for easy access. So for example, I think that is the feed mode. Let's press it and find out. Yeah, so let's turn the return pump off. So you want this mounted somewhere that you can open your door quickly, press play pause to turn feed mode on and feed mode off. Setting up on the app was pretty straightforward. You just open the app and follow the instructions to add a device. Wasn't really anything to say there. Pretty nice and simple. I have had a couple of connection issues with Red Sea stuff before when I've been trying to set it up in the first place. And what I find is that you just need to cancel it all and start again. But this time it went through straight away first time, no problems. The return pump is now completely set up and more or less dialed in. I just need to tweak the diaphragm valve and we're there. So I just wanted to leave you with two last things. Firstly, I'm not going to tell you any first impressions in this video because I think actually first impressions after 24 hours aren't much use, and it'll be far more valuable if I can give you feedback after 2 or 3 months of use when the honeymoon period has died off and I've got used to it, so I can tell you actually how it performs day to day. And secondly, is that you shouldn't see this video as an endorsement. Companies like Red Sea send free equipment to YouTubers all the time, and it doesn't mean that just because I have this, it's therefore the best return pump in the world. And actually, there's very little information out about this return pump at the moment because it's a new product. So you and I are going to find out about how good it is together. And that's another reason I want to come back and do my full thoughts in a couple of months' time, so I can give you a proper considered opinion and tell you all the good things and bad things about it. Now, if you've got any questions or if there's anything you want me to cover in the main video, let me know in the comment section below and I'll do my best to cover as much of that as I can. And if you enjoyed the video, give me a thumbs up and subscribe for next time. And until then, happy reefing.